Welcome to Melis Fairy. I'm sorry I still sound really nasally and weird. I'm still sick. I'm sorry. Please don't leave. Today I wanted to do a ranking of the most dangerous places in Breath of the Wild. As someone with around 500 hours of playtime in this game, I've had my share of going into a certain area and knowing I was going to have trouble, especially when playing on new files when you don't have all the weapons and upgrades yet. At number 5, we have Hyrule Field. This is an area you can access very early on in the game. In fact, a lot of players walk straight to it right after leaving the Great Plateau, and therein lies the danger. Hyrule Field is packed with guardians. In fact, there are about 30 in total, the majority being stalker ones. Considering this area is very open and vast, there's very little room to hide from their lasers, so unless you have a good selection of shields on you, or you're a master at parrying, this region can be a big issue early on, especially if you're on foot and don't have a horse to run from the enemies in case you decide not to fight them. This is the area surrounding the endgame area, which is the castle, so it makes sense why it's so dangerous. At number 4 we have Inogo Bridge, or to be more exact, the road from Inogo Bridge to Zora's Domain. This is a long road and it's filled with all types of obstacles to make your journey harder. You will face Lizalfo camps equipped with shock arrows, electric keys, giant rolling boulders, and all of this in the pouring rain. Considering most people go to Zora's Domain very early on in the game, it's definitely a wake-up call to how much you need to prepare for certain circumstances in the game, and it also lets you know right away that electric enemies and rain are the two most annoying things in the game. At number 3, we have the Hyrule South Summit. The Hyrule region in general can be considered quite dangerous merely because of the bitter cold. If you go in there without cold-resistant armor, you're gonna struggle. You also have limited mobility and visibility because of the snow, and you'll be walking much slower unless you have snow boots on. You also have to deal with various ice enemies in this area, including Blizzrobes, Ice Keys, Frost Peblets, and Ice Lizalfos. There is also a very large enemy camp at the northwest side of the summit with bokoblins and moblins who wield ice arrows. Overall, it's a very unforgiving area and you need to go into it prepared. At number 2, we have Hiro Castle. This is an obvious choice for this list, as it's the endgame area. The outside of the castle is guarded heavily by all types of guardians, and the inside is filled with enemies of the highest scaling. It's a high-risk, high-reward area because you can get amazing weapons if you're willing to face the dangers. The inside is also a bit of a maze and it takes a lot of getting used to. There are various different areas that you can get lost in, and if you're not heavily equipped, it could easily turn into a massacre. Not to mention that if you're playing for the first time, you might accidentally just walk into the final fight without being fully prepared. Before we talk about the number 1 spot, I want to give some honorable mentions to the Forgotten Temple and Death Mountain. You almost made it. Alright, so at number 1 we have the Gerudo Desert. I chose this as the most dangerous area for a number of reasons. The first reason is the weather. This is the only region on the map that can go from extreme heat to extreme cold. So you need 2 sets of different armor if you're going to be spending a significant amount of time walking around there. The other reason is the enemies. The desert is the home to a lot of electric enemies, and they will hide in plain sight. You also have enemy camps deeper into the desert, and they are packed with enemies wielding really good weapons. The main reason why this area is so dangerous though, which ends up combining all other reasons, is the fact that sandstorms happen. The sandstorms will turn off your map. If you don't have your map, you don't know where you're going, and you can literally be stuck forever lost in the desert if you don't have a previous save file before entering the storm. Imagine this, it's hot, or cold. You're in the sandstorm, with no way to warp away. You run into an enemy camp, you die. You respawn in the middle of the sandstorm again. You avoid the enemy camp, but the weather gets to you, and you die again. You respawn in the middle of the sandstorm again. It's like something out of a horror movie. You can clear out some of the sandstorm by reaching shrines, but getting to the shrines is the dangerous part, and to me this is the area in the game that most made me feel unsafe. So what do you guys think? Do you agree with my picks? Let me know in the comments, and thanks for watching.